Oh, great.
Can
Awesome.
hear you, sir.
Awesome. Today we shall be looking at building fabric and structured maintenance, and trust that we'll be able to finish all that we have to do to. And I trust that we have a wonderful weekend, and we are week started on a good note. General for building fabric and structured maintenance. Building fabric is actually talking about the make of a building structure, which is the work that a facility manager will be managing, will be interacting with. You actually will always interact with the building as a facility manager that is managing any facility. And more often than not, you are supposed to know exactly what the building is that you are managing, what the building is make up of building, and how the building services customers. Generally, by way of introduction, building maintenance is essential to prolong the building life cycle and reduce companies' loss. When buildings are neglected, defects will always occur. That's a given, and sometimes this defect causes extensive and unavoidable damage to the building fabric in itself and building structure. And once that happens, of course, you know that the life, the inheritance of those that are staying inside those buildings or the occupants of the building are actually exposed to great danger. Now there are different forms or different parts of a building. One of the parts of the building, which is the structural parts of the building, they are called walls. Actually, walls sit on foundation. So let me just even start from foundation. Foundation is that part of the building that has contact with the soil, And the foundation actually transmits the building load itself to the soil. There are different types of foundation. We have the strip foundation, we have the raft foundation, we have the pile foundation, we have the pad foundation. The strip foundation is the regular type of foundation that we know about, where you just dig the sand, pour concrete, and then you build the walls up. While the raft foundation is normally made of complete concrete and is used in area where the load-bearing capacity of the soil is low. And pad foundation is actually used to strengthen the bottoms of columns, or carries the foundation that carries the load of columns. And you will probably see that in the street lights, those rectangular boxes of concrete that you see that street lights are anchored to, they are called pad foundations. And when you go to warehouses, the underneath of those steel stanchions that you see is normally carried by the pad foundation. Why you also have the pile foundation, traditionally is used for high-rise buildings, for skyscrapers, and for the construction of bridges, and where the load-bearing capacity of the soil is extremely bad, and you need to get contact to a more stable soil, which is usually far down into the earth crust, which is normally far down into the earth crust. That's for foundation. And for walls, walls is a structure that defines an area and carries a load or provides shelter or security. Walls in a building forms a fundamental part of the superstructure or separates the interior rooms. Walls for buildings, you normally have the superstructure and the substructure. Anything that occurs underneath the ground is called the substructure, and anything that occurs above the ground surface that you can see with your eyes is called the superstructure in a building. The walls forms part of the superstructure, which is normally what you can actually see on the surface. Any form, any part of the building that is underneath the ground is called substructure, whether it is the basement or whether you have basement that runs up to 5 floors basement on the ground, or some people call on the ground, this is called a substructure. But the ones you can see with your eyes are this superstructure. Now, there are different types of walls. Walls are classified basically into two. We have the load-bearing walls and the non-load-bearing walls. Load-bearing walls carries the load of the building and the roof and transfers it to the foundation. And it's either an external or internal wall, either external or internal wall, are normally load-bearing walls. Walls are actually referred to as structural walls because they carry the load of the building and transmit it or transfer it to the foundation, and the foundation transfers it to the ground. For non-load bearing walls, there are walls that do not carry weight, they do not carry load. They're generally called parting walls, and there are different types. For buildings where you have non-load bearing walls, they are being carried or suspended by columns and beams. Columns meaning the regular word that we call columns, pillars. The pillars and the beams are the ones that really distribute the loads for the structural items, which can distribute the load to the foundation. Different types of walls include you have party walls, which separates units of building within a building, and is normally good with sound insulation. Also serves as fire barriers or firewalls in between buildings. Once you have a party wall, it separates internal spaces. You also have what we call firewall. Firewall is actually built for fire resistance, has a very fire resistant, high fire resistance. Sorry, it reduces the spread of fire in between or between structures. That's for firewalls. We also have what we call shear walls. Shear walls, walls that are built to withstand the severity of wind or earthquake when that happens. Shear walls actually reduces, it withstands the forces of wind and the earthquake when that happens. It makes buildings strong enough to be able to withstand heavy winds. Most of the times, most shear walls are found on high-rise buildings, skyscrapers. You also have movable movable partition. These are just used to divide spaces. They are usually non-load bearing walls. They're usually non-load bearing walls. They are internal spaces and defined spaces where people can walk or probably live or one or two meetings or events. Event hall, sometimes you have these multiple movable walls that are used to reduce or open up the conference hall so that they can accommodate more persons. If you go to the main conference center and hotel, normally they have a collapsible wall there, which is normally serves as a partition to reduce the space when they don't have very large events, but when they have large events, they open up the space fully for the hall to be big enough to contain persons that they want to contain. You also have the curtain walls or building facade is really made of, most of them are made of glass, like what we know most, they are non-load bearing walls, and they're actually decorative in nature, just to give the building a little bit of feature of finesse. You also have the cavity wall. Cavity wall, it is a wall that is constructed in two leaves or stroke skins, in which there is a space in between, which is called a between the two walls. Cavity walls are normally used to prevent the penetration of water to the internal surfaces of the wall, and they are normally non-load bearing walls also, but it just serves the function of creating a form of cavity in between the buildings, the walls. Different types of wall finish. We have stained glass finish, which is normally found in cathedrals, and stained glass is normally found in cathedrals. We have pebble finish, which is just pebble stones that are used and put as a wall finish. They are quite attractive in buildings where they are used. We also have the plaster finish, which is the one we are used to. Just use your the Sanskrit cement and then plaster with plaster sand, render, and then you can apply paint or whatever to just make it look nice. Also, you have the marble finish, where the wall itself is made of marble, and it's applicable accordingly. You also have the POP wall, when the walls are rendered with POP as a finish. You also have the tile cladding, where you use either granite tiles or glaze of vitrified tiles to clad the walls. We also have plasterboards. Plasterboards are also used as wall materials, either for cladding or to build up temporary dry walls. You also have the bricks, which we know about as different types of materials that are used for walls. You also have the red bricks that are used. You also have the concrete blocks, which is called mortar, and you also have the plaster, which are normally used to repair damages in walls. You also have tiles, which are used for bathrooms, for toilets, for kitchens. You also have a wooden cladding. Wooden cladding quite used for decorative finish, and also they have very good sound insulation properties. You have a paper, wallpaper, which are used as decorative finishes for walls. You have external wall materials. You have metal cladding, what we normally call a local bond. And cladding is the applying of one material over another to provide a skin layer used for temporary insulation, weather resistance, and also to improve the building appearance as it looks like. You also have stone cladding, which also is very nice. It has attractive finishes for the wall and is durable where you have stone finishes. You also have plastic cladding when the material for the cladding is made of plastic, when the material for cladding from plastic. Functions of the wall, there are things that you know that are the functions of walls, especially in buildings, is rather straightforward. Walls are for protection from the weather. Walls are for protection from the weather. Walls also allows for proper demarcation of any given area or space. Allows for proper demarcation for any given area or space. It also gives barrier to sound and gives good sound insulation to spaces, separate spaces in an interior of a building, in the interior of a building. It also gives strength and stability to a building. That's when they are load-bearing walls. Also reduce the spread of fire from one building space to the other. It also provides a kind of thermal insulation to buildings that have a lot of walls. It has a protection that it gives a little bit of thermal insulation where it can control the weather. When outside is hot, you have an air conditioner inside the building that is blowing the building. When there are walls, the inside of the building could become cold, while outside could become cool, while outside will be hot. And walls also provide forms of security to buildings that are being built. Imagine if you are living in a house that does not have walls. How wonderful that can be. It shows that the boys will only just come and visit you every day. But something's good to have walls in your building anyway. Now we have wall maintenance planning. Normally for the wall maintenance routine plan, we expect that in the mornings, especially for you as a facility manager, you should always observe your walls, check your walls thoroughly in the morning, every morning. If you can't do that every day, you should be able to do that at least once in a at least you should be able to do that at least once in a week. Move around your facility, check out the walls thoroughly, check for wall movements, also check for building settlements, and correct any form of settlement issues, certain issues, and provide proper maintenance of the landscape surfaces around the wall. It means that for landscape surfaces, where you have planters, horticultures around the building, you should probably trim the flowers properly so that it doesn't have all the creeping plants that go and spoil the walls. And for where building settlement, you have a little bit of crack on the wall. And when there are cracks on the wall, you just monitor the cracks to ensure that it does not expand. If it expands and goes from the top to the bottom, those cracks could actually be structural cracks. When there are structural cracks, it means somehow the building foundation itself has failed. And when that happens, it means that building will probably need to be evacuated. It's no longer available for people to live because it's just a disaster waiting to happen. But you also have the surface crack that just happened due to either plaster sand that was used for plastering or rendering the walls, or the building trying to get its own expansion joint, because every building should have a little bit of expansion joint, especially for buildings that span beyond 30 meters, especially for buildings that span beyond 30 meters, should have an expansion joint. And for where they are building settlements, you can experience a little bit of cracks, but the cracks that you experience during building settlements do not expand. It's just a one-off form of crack. But once the cracks begin to expand, it means that the foundation of the structure has failed, and probably we need to watch it and evacuate the building for proper maintenance work to be done, or for the building to be brought down. You also have wall maintenance. You have flaking paint. When you have flaking paint on the wall, this can be as a result of moist. Once the moist is on the wall and is drying off, once it dries off, the paints begin to flake on the wall, or improper preparation when paint was being applied. Once that happens and you notice that you probably just have to scrape the wall before applying the new paint, you scrape the wall thoroughly and apply a little bit of undercoat and paint over the wall. You have chalking, paint that is chalking. This is also as a result of the weather, and sometimes as a result of bad paint, bad quality paint. Once the paint is not good, after a while it begins to chalk as it begins to stain and follow you. When somebody rests on the wall will stain the person. When that happens, it means that prepare the wall surface by removing all the chalking paint, apply undercoat, and then probably repaint. Where you have a mold growing on the wall, this may be due to leakage that is inherent in the wall. And sometimes this is caused by busted pipes in the wall, gutters in the wall that are not flowing properly. And sometimes you may probably have an AC conduit wall that was properly connected, and the AC condensate water just runs through the wall and fills the wall and causes it to sweat and to moist. And once that happens, after a while, you begin to have the mold growing on the wall. Once you identify the leakage, you repair the leakage, allow the wall to dry up. After the wall has dried up, you probably just scrape out the paint around that area, apply undercoat, and then repaint the area. When you have corrosion, when you have corrosive pipes, most of the times, most of the pipes that get corroded in the walls are made of galvanized steel pipes. All those galvanized pipes that we used to use in our old houses. When they come in contact with water, it corrodes, and once that happens, it will cause leakages. What will happen is that you take out those bad pipes, replace them with new UPVC, high quality UPVC pipes, or multi-layer pipes, or the PPR pipes. Once that is done, you stop the leakage. Once the leakage is stopped, you would probably now just scrape the areas with the damage and the stained paint, apply the undercoat, and then repaint. When you have sealants getting weak in jointing, sealants in pipes or in around windows or doors or glass areas, sometimes it causes water to penetrate through those areas into the building during rainfall. You probably look at the sealants, and these sealants normally fail sometimes. Well, after a while, after intense heat that has been applied on the wall, that is applied by the weather on the wall, once the sealant fails, scrape that out, apply new sealant to the areas that are damaged. After you have done that, allow the wall dry out, apply undercoat, and then paint to have the wall look the way it should look. Two walls, we now have ceilings and roofs. Ceilings and roofs. For ceilings and roofs, a ceiling is an overhead interior surface that covers the upper limit of a room. It is not generally considered as a structural item, but a finished surface that conceals the underside of the roof structure or the floor or story above. There are different types of ceilings. Just to mention a few, you have suspended ceilings or drop ceilings. That is normally used in commercial buildings. Suspended ceiling, most offices have suspended ceilings in the buildings. It's normally because you have that because they have a lot of electrical and mechanical features inside the ceilings, and it hangs below the existing roof surface. Sorry, ceiling surface, and it's normally flat, or it takes the shape that must be designed for it to have. You also have the cathedral ceilings. Cathedral ceilings are generally the kind of ceilings that are found in cathedrals, which we expect most of the old cathedrals that you see. Once you go in, you see the ceilings there is probably the way it looks is quite good. And factors that for the selection of ceiling finishes, sometimes you have the floor type that determines the type of ceiling that is used. The lifestyle of the inhabitants of the building can also determine the kind of ceiling that is used. Durability also does that, and its fire resistance capability also determines the kind of ceiling that will be used. You also have the appearance of the ceiling, whether it is POP ceiling or the suspended ceiling or the regular wooden finished ceiling. Whichever one that you probably use, the appearance also determine the one that is being used, and the function of the building also determines the kind of ceiling that is used. In most cathedrals, the ceilings are normally cathedral ceilings because those cathedrals that is the use and the form, because the ceilings for cathedrals help to manage and to control the sound within the space so that there's even distribution of sound. Safety to the building occupants. The kind of building material, ceiling material also determines that. Like for asbestos ceilings that are discontinued because it is actually dangerous to the health of individuals. Asbestos is very bad, it's cancerous, and it has been banned in Nigeria, but sometimes you still see the asbestos ceiling boards being sold. Ceiling materials, you have the wooden boards commonly used for general structures. You also have the plaster. When you plaster directly to the surface with a cement screed. You also have the plaster boards, the drywall that you use for ceiling, also called POP boards. You also have the wooden panel or planks. You have the metal ceiling tiles that are also used. You also have the POP ceilings, that is POP materials that is being used as materials for ceilings. For taking care of ceiling repairs, most of the problems that happen in ceilings are mostly related to leakages in the ceiling. The other activities that happen is when they are doing repair works, electrical repair or mechanical works in the ceiling, especially for areas like suspended ceiling. It's possible that the workers may damage the ceiling. And once that occurs or that happens, we expect that the grids are properly put in place and the ceilings are replaced so that it looks the way it was when before they started work on it. But for leakages, normally you expect that you identify the source of leakage for the ceiling and ensure that it dries out. Most of the times, once the ceiling is leaking, you check for the culprit where the leakage is coming from, either from the electrical pipes, conduit pipe, or from the floor above it, where probably the tiles there are filled for the wet areas, either the toilets or the AC condensate pipes that could be in the wall and busted, or the rainwater gutter pipes which are embedded in the wall and probably demise, and then leakage goes into the wall and vis-a-vis gets to the ceiling. And once it gets to the ceiling, it begins to show by stains on the ceiling. Normally, we advise that those areas that are stained, that are bad, the leakages are treated first to ensure that the leakage has stopped, and then you allow the surface area to dry up, and then the area where the ceiling is discolored or is damaged, they are removed and then replaced. For areas where you don't have a suspended ceiling or POP ceiling, where the surface is the area that we have. You just scrape out those areas, repaint it, and make it smooth by using sandpaper to sand it, and then apply your paint as it's required. Now we'll talk about roofs. A roof is the top cover of a building, including all materials and structures necessary to support it on the wall of the building or on the upright, providing protection against rain, snow, sunlight, extreme thermal conditions, temperature conditions, and wind. A roof is a part of a the building that envelopes the building, The building, for short, is just a covering by building. Basically, we have two types of roof. We have the flat roof and the hip roof. The flat roofs are normally used in commercial buildings or whatever building that is used. One of the simplest roofs to construct and has little or no pitch. That's for the flat roof. Pitch roof are commonly used for residential houses, very difficult to construct when compared to flat roof, because flat roof is just straight and simple. But there are other different types of roof, which you'll probably see. We have the gill, you have the flat roof, you have the hip roof, and all the diagrams just shows the different types of roof that you can probably have. Factors for selecting the roof finish. One, how strong the finish is also determines the kind of roof that you use. Its ability to transverse light, where you need light to be transferred into the building, like in factories or warehouses, where they need a little bit of illumination. In fact, a lot of illumination. And during the day, you always have the roofing material having these translucent roofing materials, such that when you are working within the factory or within the warehouse setting, you have natural light coming in and illuminating the space without necessarily being totally opened. You also have the cost and how attractive the roof is. Also look at the load of the roof. You can also determine the kind of roof. Types of roofing finishes. You have the plastic roofing sheet. You have the corrugated galvanized sheet or aluminum roof sheet, or the different types of aluco roofing sheets. You also have the fiberglass sheets. You have the tiles like that of the Gerard roofing tiles. You also have roofing materials as asphalt. You have that as a material. You also have the wooden stakes. You have the metal roof. That's where the aluminum and the steel roof falls into. Those are the different materials for roof. And then we're looking at the damages for roof repairs. Damages is usually as a result of storm or heavy downpour for roofs, or when people go up the roof to do some repair works, they somehow or sometimes damages the roof. So normally once that happens, you need to assess the extent of damage of the roof. Once you have done that assessment, the areas that are damaged, you probably replace that, you move the materials down, and fix it with new ones to replace the materials of the ones that are damaged. Check for leakages if there are. Repair holes by using a flash and band on the holes. Prevent additional water damage to ensure the roof is properly tiled. And make sure all gutters are free of dirt where you have roof gutters, so that the water flows properly and the water does not return to damage the roof. Allow free flow of water in all areas of the roof. We now go to floor. We have done walls, we have done foundation walls, we have done roof and ceilings, and now we are looking at walls. Walls. A wall is the bottom surface of a room or a vehicle. Floors are made floors may be made of stone, wood, bamboo, metal, or any other material that can support the expected load that is coming on it. Level of a building are often referred to be as floors, although is more proper to refer to it as story. Floor typically consists of the subfloor or support and a floor covering used to give a good working surface. In modern build, a subfloor often have electrical wiring, plumbing, or other services inbuilt underneath the floor, as floors must meet many needs. Some essential to safety, floors are built to strict building code in some regions of the world. This is to ensure that it was as safe for people to move around or to walk on without getting injured or being tripped at any point in time. Of course, we know that there are different types of floors. You have the laminate floor. Laminate floors. You also have the tiles, the floor tiles, which is very popular now. You also have the hardwood floor. You have the carpet floor, carpets like rugs and all that we normally use in those days. You also have the ceramic tiles floors. You have the marble floors, the different materials. You also have the suspended floors. Suspended floors. Suspended floors we normally be used especially for server rooms where you have raised floors, where the floors you have a lot of work happening under the floors. Sometimes now, all the old buildings you also have suspended floors where the floors are made of wooden joists and people can walk around the floors. And then you also have a solid floor, which is made up of the subbase, the concrete, and then you have the cement floor screeds, you have the sand and the damp-proof membrane for a little bit of insulation on those floors to prevent water from coming. You have special floor structures like raised floors, you have balconies, you have glass floors, you have sport floors that are used in sports areas, sports halls like basketball, or tennis, indoor basketball games. Those floors are normally that kind of floor. You also have the soft flooring, which we refer to the rugs and the carpet that we normally use. They're normally warm and hard to maintain because of the way they are. We have the resilient floor. The floors are durable and easy to maintain. They're made of rubber or made of vinyl or using depending on the kind of floor. We also have the hard floor. These floors are normally durable. They're made of either concrete. They also have ceramic floors. You have granite. You have marble, vitrified tiles, brick, and you also have terrazzo. Terrazzo used to be my favorite kind of flooring system. I used to love terrazzo a lot. And then you have problems that are probably associated with floors. When you have a squeaky floor surface, floors that are where you have wood as you have parquet flooring. Sometimes if the wooden joint and then screw them back together, put them back together. We also have the vibration of floors when tiles or floating floors, when the tiles begin to float and are not properly put, the tiles bounce. And after that happens, it affects the total configuration of the floors. Those are some of the problems I will have with floors. Normally that happens, you take out those damaged tiles, split back, and use the tile gum or tile cement to fix them back. You have the floorboards where you have gaps on the floorboards due to moist and when there's expansion. Once that happens, you need to put that together and ensure that the floors are properly in place. You also have where you have a wooden board cracking, or you have space. You fill up the spaces when that occur, and you ensure that those spaces and gaps are filled up to ensure that it doesn't cause any damage to anybody. Then cleaning of floor. Um, for cleaning of floor, the cleaning methods depend on the type of floor itself. For wood floor, you clean the floor like where you clean furniture. You sweep out the loose dirt and going along the grains and the mop, use mop to clean the floors, and add just a few soap to the water when you are doing the mopping. And afterwards, you expect that when it dries up from time to time, you can also polish the floor so that it keeps and is shining. That's for the wooden floor. Then for tiles and stone floor, remove dust and dirt from the floor using broom or vacuum cleaner. Spray the appropriate cleaning reagent or solution on the floor. Scrape the floor from every surface, and then you mop the floor as is required. For cleaning schedule, we expect that daily for offices. Of course, we know this is just for us to just run through it again to refresh our knowledge that you are supposed to sweep the floors and mop it daily. Mop the floor daily and ensure that the floors are properly clean. For every week, we expect that at least once in a week, we do a vacuum cleaning of the floor for spaces for offices. And monthly, we expect that the floors are polished, especially for floors that have tiles and marbles and granite. And then quarterly, we expect that you have proper deep washing, deep cleaning of the floors. It's normally nice to have that. It will help to ensure that the floors are in proper and good condition, are in proper and good condition. Okay, windows. We have windows and doors for the two last uh, uh, sections, modules of this class. So I'll normally would want us to take a break, but before that, because it's not 6 o'clock yet, I want to just ask if we have any questions from the ones who have taken now, and then I will address those questions, and then probably we'll go on a break and continue from windows and doors. So if you have any questions, I'll just see your hand, and then I'll you ask the questions. I think I'm seeing Aziz. Up yourself and answer questions.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
At my workplace, I have a project that we are working on. So
Okay.
after evaluating
Please,
the
let's keep our questions short so that I can take much as I can for this time.
after evaluating the old and everything for leakage, I observed that the is the foundation itself. So what
Foundation.
advice can we what advice can be screening and whatsoever? And during the rainy season, situation persist, they will have to hold the facility person in charge.
Okay,
So
of course, the whole the facility person in charge, if you don't advise. I don't know how bad it is in terms of foundation issue that you're having. How do you know it's foundation? Can you
because
explain?
we've called in contractors, we've done AC leakage evaluation, plumbing evaluation, and the roof evaluation. And we've assured, ascertained that, okay, there's no roof leakage and all the trunking of the plumbing are okay. So, and what I sense there is that the environment they built the building, it is some kind of modding. So I feel the foundation, it is not properly done. So there's a leakage somewhere passing through the underneath to the building.
Okay, just a quick one. I'll just on that. I may not exactly be able to give a holistic answer to this because when it comes to issues like this, it's something that I'll probably need to inspect and see. However, the common issues that happen in this kind of scenarios that you have just described are normally to either have capillary rise due to the fact that the DPC of the building has failed, or they did not make provision for that at all. And once that happens, you can't resolve the problem because the leakage, you just have capillary rise, that is water coming from the ground. And for the other one where the water itself is permeating through the floor slab, once the issue of that, you can't exactly do anything about it. The only thing that will normally do, which should not last, is that you will take out the existing floor finish to get to the structural floor base. That is the floor slab, or what you call the German floor. You hack off the total floor finish, get to the German floor, and you do a rescreening with waterproof cement to prevent water from permeating through that surface. And it's just like doing another floor on top of the floor you have. You provide a bit of strength to that floor, and then you now apply the final finish on that. That should be able to assist. Just break through the at about 300 on the area of the wall round, and then after the breaking is done, chemicals are applied in, and once the chemicals are applied in, it is plastered. Then it is plastered back, and we'll apply bituminous felt, not the felting itself, bituminous paint over that area to prevent water from coming in, both in and out. And then we apply undercoat before the painting is done. That solution will probably last you for another 4 to 5 years. And if it's properly done, it can stretch to as much as 7 years without you having those issues anymore. I'm sure I should be able to answer your question.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Ayola, you can see your hand. You can unmute yourself and ask a question.
All right, good evening, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is based on the monthly schedule polish. I want to know the kind of polish you can use for the tiles cleaning on monthly basis. Then also the quarterly schedule deep cleaning. So I want to know what that entails. And then my last question is, do you hear me,
Yeah,
sir?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, now my last question is, if you are in a facility that has the ground floor, we have like, it's made up of a stamped concrete floor. And then the size of that floor is more than 500 square meters. It's a big compound. Now, how do you get your cleaners to maintain that kind of floor on a weekly or quarterly basis?
Okay. First of all, let me start from the back. Stamped concrete is an external wall finish. It's an external floor finish. I don't expect that you have stamped concrete on the interior of a wall. Sorry, interior of a building as a floor finish. It's going to be on the internal part of a building. The stamped concrete will probably be used for probably parking spaces or parking areas, or just areas that are used makeshift halls or something like that. And once it's that is what you have, I expect that for stamped concrete, what you probably just have is the regular cleaning. Just sweep, and then probably from time to time you can do just flushing with water. You may not need to be mopping the external floor. Once you flush with high pressured water for the external area, you should be able to wipe off the dirt, and it will bring out the initial part of the stamped concrete. That's for that. Then for the cleaning schedule, different materials come with different polishes that are in the market. Once you go to the market, you ask for the polish for marble tiles, they'll give that to you. You have polish for granite tiles, give that to you, which you will just apply. The polish is just after you have done your proper cleaning, you mop and do your deep clean. Deep clean is when you use the mopping machine off the whole floor to go into very indoor areas where your mop will not have been able to do. Once you use a mopping machine, the machine washes better than the mop. It gives a better finish in terms of cleaning. After it is done, that is when you apply your polish. The polish is normally is in liquid form. You just spread it. They have a brush that you use to spread it. As you're spreading it, you give it for like 30 or 1 hour to dry up. Once it dries up, it begins to shine. Yeah, is a transparent liquid material, and that once you apply, it shines, and the finish of the marble or the granite of the certified tiles comes out much more better. Ayola, I hope I've answered your question. Okay, thank you. Let's see. Bola Tito. Unmute yourself.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good
Yes,
evening.
good evening, sir. So what can be a solution to a tile that just broke out, like it got cracked out, it swelled up, then it cracked?
Okay, is it on the floor or on the wall?
On the floor, what can be the cause?
Okay, the cause where you when you have floating tiles where it just
Yes, it floated up, then it cracked.
Yes, of
Yes,
course,
sir.
I
And
understand.
inside the room, what can
No
be
problem.
the cause of it?
Normally, the cause of that, there are two ways. Sometimes it may be due to the fact that the building has moved, it has settled. There's a shift in the building alignment. And once that happens, sometimes it causes the tile to lose its position, it cracks when pressure comes on it. When that happens, you probably will just and replace it after. Well, you won't have that issue again because it would have set. That's one. Then two, if the proper tile backing is not done, when you're supposed to have the proper mix for the cement and screed to receive the tile finish, use of tile gum is not properly done. After a while, if that area soaks water, the tile may shift and bulk. And once that happens, it will come out. If that's the problem, you may need to take out the tiles in the whole surface because you see it running all through the surface. You probably take that out and you need to retile that space, and you use the proper backing material, the proper mix for the sand and cement should be used, and the receiving backing of the cement should not be smooth. Most of the times, this happens in areas where the flooring was done with sand and cement screed, and it shined. And once it shined, and you apply tiles on it, the tiles do not stick properly to that surface, except you tap all the areas to ensure that it's properly broken. It bonds properly. Once properly, you won't have that problem again. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, who is Techno? Techno C16, and we normally do not like the names coming like this. So Techno C16, let me take your question, unmute yourself, and introduce your name. Okay, I don't know Techno C16.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, sir. My name is Ibrahim. I don't know why it's bringing Techno 16. I don't even know I am before. Now, my question is
Your
this.
name is what? Sorry.
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim, please, after your question, please change your name on your profile so everybody will know that you're the one. So go ahead.
Okay. I understand the fact that if there is a settlement on the building, there will be a little crack which will not extend again. That shows that the building is settling. But I don't know the sign of wall movement. That is what I don't know.
It's almost, you said the wall movement, and you have a high wind effect in the areas. And normally you do not notice it that much, except sometimes you just see that do not run down to the foundation. You just see the wall. That's the only thing. It's run from the top to the bottom. You just maybe if it's on the second floor, you just see the crack on the second floor. You won't see it on the first floor. You won't see it on the ground floor. You won't see it on the third floor. That's where you have wall movements.
Okay. It's quite different from
yes, it's totally different.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I think that's the last hand we should be able to take. Okay, I think I can see Alaraba.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry, help me pronounce your name well. I didn't get it. I know I didn't get it well.
I think I'll be Alaraba.
Okay, Alaraba. Okay, sorry.
Good
Go ahead, sir.
evening.
Good evening, sir.
I thought my question is somehow related to my experience within the house.
Sorry, we
The
may need
kind
to
of,
be quick a little bit because of our time. I'll have one more Oluwa Dara, so that I'll just take those two questions before we go on a break. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be quick, I mean, as fast as possible.
All
What could have been responsible for a situation where you notice some kind of I won't say it's the leakage, but the what is that? Either the paint start falling down at base of the wall when
Swells.
I noticed that kind of so, but meanwhile in that situation there's no pipe that run around that area, so I cannot trace it to probably there's a leakage or not. But
Is it on
it's
the
come
is it
out
on the ground floor or the first floor?
on the both on the for me on both floor kind of duplex.
Okay.
On the ground floor and yeah, I noticed that definitely there's no pipe that run through. That's not very close to the toilet, so it's kind of a concern.
Okay,
What
good.
could be responsible?
It's like I explained initially, is the capillary rise. Water is rising, the what we call rising dam or capillaries. The wall is soaking water from the ground and it's transmitting it to the wall, and then and it's taking it also to the upper floors. Once that is happening, most of the times you may need to treat it from the foundation wall. That's where you can, but it's always difficult to maintain anyway. You scrape, apply the chemical in between the wall that will trap the water, and then use your bituminous bitumen to paint the wall and apply on. Once that is done, and then you now begin to apply your paints. That should solve that problem for another 2 or 3 years, at least. That's the best that can happen. In two ways, is because it's half capillary rise, and the capillaries, it's because it has actually don't have a DPC applied on the floor level when the foundation is being done. That problem will continue. Once you have DPT, is either the DPC has failed or it was not properly done.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, Oluwadaya.
Yes, good evening, sir. Thank you very much for the
Yeah, good
opportunity.
evening, sir.
Yeah, my first question is similar to what Mr. Alaraba asked. In my own case is actually happening on the 6th floor, and the walls that are affected are internal walls. And then there's one external wall that is affected too, and all these walls are not even close to the bedroom or toilets at all. So initially I was thinking, and there are plaster cracks on the external wall. So I was thinking probably rain is driving through the plaster cracks in the wall. And that's why we can see dampness on the internal wall. So I don't really know if my assumption is correct or not. And
Okay,
then
second question.
okay, yes. My second question is how do you determine where to use non-load bearing walls and where to use where to use walls as load bearing walls and where to use columns and beams to carry the load? How do you determine that?
Okay.
And then another question I have is what are the components of fire and shear wall?
Okay, no problem. First, I'll start from the second question. The type of wall that is used for your building is determined by the structural engineer when they are doing their design. they will give a best design to know exactly based on the load bearing capacity of the soil, determine whether they will use structure the load bearing walls on or a frame structure. But I know that these days most engineers tilt towards a frame structure because it's easier to manage because of our lifestyle now. They'll probably just design a frame structure where the walls that are used are not load bearing walls. So that when somebody goes mad and starts breaking walls, the building is still standing. But by and large, the structure engineer determines that in collaboration with the architect. Then, secondly, firstly for the question you asked about the leakage, the leakages itself, like what you mentioned, could happen in different ways. Most of the time, there's no leakage that does not happen without water. So you probably look out for, probably if you don't have toilet or kitchen in those areas, on the upper floors, you probably will go and look at the roof gutters and find out that the electrical pipes that you have there are not connected or close to where you have rainwater down pipes that will cause leakages in those walls. The plaster cracks that you have on the external, once you have those gaps and it rains, you can actually take in damp into the internal walls over a period of time. So that can also be a cost. You treat the plaster cracks outside by taking out the existing plaster, replastering proper right mix of plaster sand. That will solve that problem. But for the internal one, this floor, is the same thing to look for the leakages from still the same water points, which the normally incorporate toilet areas, the kitchen areas, the roof gutters, the AC condensers, condensate pipes. Ensure that they are not connected either to the electrical pipes, because once it's connected to the electrical pipes in any way or in any form, water will still go through those electrical pipes and get to areas where you don't have toilets or have water points, and then begin to soak those walls, because it is the damp that actually soaks the wall that makes it to pop. The final question you were talking about, sorry, I missed that. I can't remember. Can you run with the third question?
The components of fire and shear wall.
Okay, yeah. The components of fire and shear wall is also determined by the structural engineer, but most of the time they are both a lot of reinforced concrete wall. The walls are rigid walls anyway. They are able to withstand the stress, especially for shear wall. Shear wall is particularly to withstand the effect of wind and earthquake. That's for shear wall, and it forms the core of buildings, especially high-rise buildings. It stabilizes the buildings. Why firewall principally is built to resist fire. So the component and the mix of the cement content or the additives that goes into that wall in the wall, it will give fire, and to increase the fire rating of the wall from probably a 1 hour fire rating to like 3 or 4 hours fire rating. That's when the wall becomes a firewall. So that's the major difference between the two. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, 6 o'clock, we'll take our 5 minutes break now. And then when we come back, we'll take, we'll continue from Windows. So just have a 5 minutes break now. This is 6:05, so we'll be back 6:10. I hope that's fine. All right. Okay, it's 6:10, so we can continue with Windows. I hope you're back, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay.
We can hear you,
Windows.
sir.
Go ahead. Window, I'm going ahead now. Window is an opening in a wall door or vehicle that allows for exchange of light or air, and may also passengers to may also allow for passage of sound and sometimes air. Modern windows are usually glazed or covered in some other transparent or translucent materials. Many glazed windows may be opened to allow for ventilation or closed to exclude inclement weathers. And windows may have latches or similar mechanisms to lock the windows or shut it down when it is required, or to hold it from opening by various amounts. And that's just a simple definition of windows. There are types of windows that are used in a building, different types of windows depending on the location of the building, either tropical or temperate region, the rainforest region, or areas that are prone to snow, that are prone to the dusty area, the desert areas, or whatever. But there are different types of windows there, and they all play different functions. You have fixed windows, you have sliding windows, you have windows, you have double hinge windows, you have louver windows, you have casement windows, you have metal windows, you have corner windows, you have bay windows, you have dormer windows, you have lantern windows, you have windows, you have ventilating highlight.
Is it the way I put before?
You also have windows covering that used to cover windows. You have interior covering when you apply reduced solar gains and applied films that are normally used to reduce the amount of solar, the UV light that gets into the space. You have solar shades, which are excellent and improves the energy performance space. You also have drippers or curtains that we normally use in our homes, used for decorative privacy to the interior spaces. Sometimes you have the interior louver shutters, like ruler shutters. They give they provide control over the solar or heat gain, and also give privacy to spaces. Those shutters are normally incorporated into the window frame itself, where you can just have the louvers closed off and on, and not being itself. That's for interior protection. Then for exterior protection, for windows, you have the exterior louver shutters or ruler shutters, depending on where it's being used. I also performs a form of window protection from the weather and improve security. You have the external shades, which also shields the window from the weather and provides a bit of solar protection. And also you have the external solar screens and fixed which are normally used to provide and to protect the screens itself from excessive solar heat. You also have the roller shutters, like the ones you have in stores, which are really used for protection against weather, where especially in areas where you have high amount of snow hitting the windows. They have these roller shutters that they normally put around the windows, especially on the external part, that they just roll it down, it comes down, and then when the snow is falling, it prevents the window from getting all covered in snow. So that by the time you raise up the roller shutter from the outside, it gives you a clear view from there. Window glazing, you have the spectrally selected coating, which is applied just on a tinted glass to a glazed system, where you have the tinting of the glass to make it darker, to give a little bit of control, to reduce or is either to reduce or to increase the solar gain into the space. You have the reflective coat, what they call reflective glass. It reduces the transmission of solar radiation, which some persons will call mirror glass, where it transfers the light to outside, so that during the day you cannot see through the windows, but at night you'll be able to see through. But during the day, it reflects your image. When you're on the external, you can't see in. When you're in the internal, you probably will be able to see properly. Also, you have the gas-filled window. This is actually for thermal control and for sound insulation, where you have the double glazing system that is used to provide and protect the windows. You now have the materials for the window frames. You have the composite frame, which is made of composite material, resist moist and decay. You have the vinyl finish, good moist resistance, and do not require painting because the finish itself is vinyl. You have the aluminum framed window, reduces heat flow and good conduction of heat. Also, it's an aluminum material that is used for the window frame itself. We also have the fiberglass frame, where the material for the frame for the windows is actually made from fiber, high fiber. It gives a better thermal and performance in terms of comparison to wood. We also have the wood frame. Also, you have the wooden material, types of window material. You have wood, you have the aluminum. Wood, hardwood is quite expensive, or quite durable when it comes to window. That's if you get the original hardwood, which some people ironwood. It's very scarce. You hardly. That's why you have a lot of aluminum used to wooden from time to time. They're just properly painted and looks like. If you have the aluminum windows, the best option when you want to maximize light is required, and it's strength of aluminum can support a large area of, and it's a disadvantage of conducting heat, very prone to condensation and has low maintenance cost. That's for aluminum material. You have vinyl. Vinyl is also a material used to coat the and is easy to maintain. For maintenance of windows, weather strips to reduce the air and water infiltration for the windows. Regularly inspect your windows, the interior windows, check window hardware system and the opening mechanism. Also check any exposed hardware must be tightened securely. Always inspect your external and internal part of the frames, the edges of the windows, to ensure that they are properly fixed and they have not have any gaps in between them. Check the windows for smooth operation, especially for the windows, to ensure that the windows actually slide properly. They are not stuck. Where they are stuck, to raise it up. The rollers are underneath. The windows are actually allowed them to roll on the. That is where the issues for sliding windows always have. Probably when that is fixed. Then for pivot and basement windows, where you have the hinges that goes in and out, and endeavor to have it greased regularly, because when it's not greased, it gets stuck. And once it gets stuck, it will damage. And also, you must ensure that you clean the windows of dust, of dirt, and sand particles from the tracks and from the hinges, as it were. For windows repair, one especially for wooden frame wood and paint flaking. Once that happens, you cut the small area that is rotted or that is bad, probably replace it with the one. If it's a large area, you cut away the damaged parts, treat the remaining part of the wood to prevent that same effect from happening. Yeah, that is properly treated. Please, let's mute ourselves, so please, so that you don't have feedback. So I'm getting feedback, I think, from Joseph Gabriel. Joshua Gabriel, please mute. Anyway, when the window seal is also having issues, expect that you cut off the part that is rough, treat the other part, get a new piece of seasoned wood, and add to the damaged part, and then fix it, paint accordingly, repair. And especially for wood, normally what happens if this season and then once that happens, the window wouldn't properly. For metal window, if you look at corrosion, where you have rust, the areas that are rust, brush them off properly with iron brush, resurface it, paint over it. Where the areas that are bad, to be replaced, the areas that are bad, apply high quality material over those areas. Defective lint windows, especially for wood, take out the part that is bad, dry it properly, and replace it with new ones. That's for windows. Then for doors, we have different types of doors. Those are aspects of the build of the building that gives you access to the building. There are various types of doors that are used in building. A door is an access or is an access and as an accessible barrier which provides which is provided in a wall opening to give an access into a room of a building. The internal portions of the building are usually connected by doors. There are different types of doors, and we form 4 major components of doors. The 4 major components or classifications of doors are the placement of the component itself. That this different classification gives the name to the door. You have the 2 that have the method of construction, how the door is constructed. 3, the working mechanism of the door. And 4, the construction material used for the door. The construction material used for the door. Example of the door types that are owned by the placement of the materials is the first one is the this is the old, the batten, ledge, and brace. The battens, the ledge, and the brace. You also have the batten, ledge, and frame. Battens, ledge, and the frame that goes around the batten, ledge, frame, and brace. That's it compiles everything. You have the batten, you have the brace, you have the frame round, and you have the ledges that are running vertical. And then you have the door that are types that is based on the construction methodology. You have the framed and panel door. The frame and panel door. You have the glazed door, which is made of glass, normally aluminum and glass, or wood and glass, depending on the kind of material that is used, but it's just glass, it's just a glazed door. You also have the louvered door, the louvered door, where the wooden panels are louvered. And you also have the flush doors. You have the flush doors where it is flush. Then you also have the doors that are done by the working mechanism of the door. The working mechanism of the door, the revolving doors that you see in very high corruption, in very high constructed or commercial buildings, revolving doors. You have the sliding door, which we all know very popular. You have covered plywood doors. You have other doors, all types of doors, which you have the French doors, you have the minion doors, and just the components of doors, the doorway components. The door is the one that is found at the bottom of the door, just a small door. The door, it stops the door from hitting the wall. You have the lintel. The lintel is the part above the door. It's called the lintel. The one at the bottom is called the seal. The seal of the door is the bottom. The architraves are the ones that are mounted on the side of the frames of the door. Is attractive in dry. The seal is normally at the exterior bottom of the door. Is parallel, a parallel plate at the base of the door. It gives support to the frame and ensure that it is properly held in place. Then you also have the door repairs, where you have doors and having doors do not close properly. It means that you probably need to check if the door is swelling as a result of very high humidity. And once doors are not properly sealed, the wood for doors are not properly sealed, it can swell after absorbing water. That's one of the defects of using MDF boards for doors. because it easily attracts water. And once it attracts water, it's sure. Sometimes when that happens, leave the door handle when trying to open the door and check if it works easily. It means the top hinges is loose. Adjust that and fix that properly, and it will fix. Door rubber or sticker on the frame is not in place. As if you have the door rubbers in most doors, you have that the door to the high humidity comes with door should be properly adjusted so that the rubbers are properly in place. Do not latch properly when the door does not latch properly, doesn't latch properly as a result of wrong position of the frame. By strike plate. Strike plate is an iron part and one plate that's put at the door to help protect it when against moist when mop is being used for for cleaning the floor. And then the strike plate also against the you need to adjust the check the position so it does work very well. Then you also have the cold air coming in around the door. When there are gaps around the door, the family door is not properly fitted very well. You just need to get your technicians to adjust the door properly and adjust the gap so that the gaps probably lock well. Then you also have the flush bolts. Check all flush bolts for loose attaching screws. Service the flush, they place the defective part. Flush bolts are normally found, especially on double doors. At the end of double doors, they help to lock the door up and down to ensure that one panel of the double door can lock before the other panel locks it up with the key or with the hinge, with the key itself. Door frames. Inspect door frames regularly, repair any defects, and paint it. Premature rot in terms of the door frame. Glass lights. Check regularly for cracks or missing glaze pieces in case they are broken. Door maintenance checklist. This is just a checklist that you probably will have for you to check for the door itself, so that the doors, when you are looking at the door and working at the doors, just a few things for you to look at. Check all locks and opening mechanism. Check if the door opens smoothly. Check if the screws are tightened securely. Check door hinges and tracks for sand or dirt. Also check if screws are secured fastening in the screen combinations. Also look at the trim off any cloaking that is loose. Seal up any gaps with quality. Also, then also check if the weather strips is effectively fixed when it comes to the doors. That should be the last slide. Thank you very much. So I'll take our questions now if you have any from the beginning up till now. So if you have any questions at this time, I want to take your questions. Just indicate by raising your hand, and then we'll take your questions. I can see your last hand up.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
My question is related to how to maintain the cleaning of the elevator in a facility. That's cleaning of and maintenance of elevator. That's
okay. For cleaning of elevator, I'll just for this screen. For cleaning of elevator, is pretty much a specialist item. But the regular cleaners would just do regular cleaning, sweeping of the elevator itself, taking out dust and dirt around the edges of the rail. I hope you know the elevator has rail where especially the doors open, go in and out. That rail needs to be dusted every day to ensure dirt does not have its closes and it opens and closes easily. In case of any serious issue with the elevator, you may need to call the elevator experts to and then check and look at the elevator. Ideally, you are supposed to have your experts coming to look at your elevator probably once every quarter to check for functionality in terms of the activity of the working mechanism of the elevator. But for general cleaning, the cleaners can always clean the elevator once in the morning and in the evening by doing regular sweeping and cleaning of the doors and cleaning of the walls of the elevator, time to disinfect it, and then ensure that the elevator is properly cleaned.
All right.
Yeah. More, please, more questions. More questions. Okay. I don't have questions. I'll probably ask that we go through our slides and notes that we probably have. If you need any clarification on any of the previous classes that you've had, and you have any challenge in your facility, please to let us know. Send your questions to the secretariat and to the group. We'll pick it up there and we answer the questions accordingly as is required. Please don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you have any challenge in your facility, please bring the questions in, ask it to the for other people to gain and learn from. And that being said, I want to thank you especially all for your attention this evening, and I wish you a productive week ahead. Bless you and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Very
you.
much, sir. Same to you.
Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah,
Hi,
right.
Good night.
thank you so much. Night all.
Yeah.